Something historic just happened in Washington, and if you're an immigrant, a student, a worker, or someone waiting abroad for a visa, your life may have just changed overnight. Congress has officially passed the most sweeping U.S. immigration reform in decades, and the ripple effects are already shaking every corner of the system. Green cards, visas, family sponsorship, work pathways. Nothing looks the same anymore. The question now isn't will you be affected, it's how fast, and the clock has already started. If you're interested in this topic, hit the like button, subscribe, and type interested in the comments, and I will give you a heart. No one expected Washington to actually pull this off. For years, immigration reform was the political version of a ghost story. Everyone talked about it, everyone feared it, but nothing ever truly moved. Yet, here we are. In a moment that feels almost unreal, the country just woke up to a brand new immigration system and millions of people who spent half their lives rewritten in a single sweep of legislation. But with every major change comes a collision. Hope on one side, chaos on the other. And right now, America is standing in between both. If you felt trapped by backlogs, overwhelmed by visa limits, or unsure whether your future even fit into this country's old system, this reform hits you differently. It's not just another news update. This is the biggest reshuffling of immigration priorities in decades, and everyone from undocumented workers quietly contributing to the economy to engineers stuck in decade-long queues has suddenly been thrown into a new landscape where old assumptions no longer apply. For the first time in a generation, Congress moved past gridlock and delivered a 10-year legalization path for long-term undocumented residents, an idea that has haunted political debates for years. This is not a blanket amnesty, it's not an automatic approval, it's more like a tight, narrow bridge stretched over a deep canyon. Only those who can prove long-term residence, verified work history, and a clean record get to step onto it. And even then, it's conditional, a long, supervised journey rather than an instant reward. But for millions who have lived in the shadows, raised families, paid taxes, and contributed to communities under constant fear, this is the first time a real legal doorway has opened. The conflict, however, lies in the details. Every new opportunity comes with strings, documentation requirements, and scrutiny levels higher than anything seen before. Many people will realize that even if the door is open, walking through it will require paperwork and proof they never prepared for. The employment-based categories, long considered the most predictable part of the system, have been shaken to their core. For decades, applicants from India, China, and other high-demand nations waited years, sometimes decades, just to move from one stage to another. The per-country caps acted like a traffic light that only turned green every few years. This reform eliminates those caps entirely, blending merit-based evaluation with credit for long-term U.S. work history. It sounds clean, it sounds efficient, but it also shifts the competitive landscape. People who were once stuck at the back of the line may suddenly leap forward, creating a new imbalance that USCIS will have to manage in real time. Skilled workers who studied here, worked here, and built their lives here may finally see a clear timeline, but the pressure intensifies. Employers now need to provide deeper documentation, stronger wage guarantees, and long-term stability metrics to support applications. The system is faster, yes, but only if every step of your profile is airtight. Family-based immigration wasn't spared from disruption either. Anyone who has waited years for a sibling's visa, begged for processing updates, or watched petitions move at the pace of a glacier understands how painful the delays have been. This reform promises digital tracking, restored visa numbers, and sharply reduced wait times by 2027. But faster processing doesn't mean easier approval. The conflict here is subtle but critical. More efficiency usually comes with more scrutiny. Families may face new identity verification steps, tougher relationship documentation standards, and shorter response windows when USCIS sends requests for evidence. A system that moves faster also expects you to move faster with it. Then comes the startup visa, something the tech world has begged for over 15 years. Entrepreneurs who once had no clear path to build companies in the US finally receive a structured option. But it's not an open invitation. You need to prove job creation potential, demonstrate business viability, and meet new oversight metrics designed to prevent abuse. As exciting as the opportunity is, the stakes are higher than ever. Innovation gets a pathway, but accountability becomes the guardrail. Students, especially in STEM, are experiencing a shift that's both liberating and intimidating. The reform streamlines what used to be the most stressful part of their lives, the transition from a student visa to a work visa to a green card. The bottleneck that kept thousands of graduates in a state of limbo is finally loosening. But with that comes new expectations, documented work experience, proof of long-term career alignment, and stronger employer verification. The journey is smoother, but the checkpoints are stricter. Even green card holders, people who thought they were in the safest category, are feeling the tremor. Re-entry is becoming more flexible for long-term residents, processing is getting faster, and digital case systems are replacing the old black box style of USCIS updates. But this also means more visibility. Every entry, exit, renewal, and update is now fed into a system designed to detect inconsistencies instantly. The freedom is real, but so is the increased monitoring. The asylum process has been rebuilt from the ground up. 90-day decision targets sound humane, but speeding up a system that has historically struggled with overloaded caseloads will trigger growing pains. More cases will be resolved faster, but faster resolutions also mean less time to prepare, fewer delays, and tighter documentation rules. Now here's where the conflict peaks. Everything is changing at once. For the first time in decades, immigrants, employers, attorneys, students, families, and long-term residents are all being forced to adjust simultaneously. People who once memorized the old system now have to relearn it. People who thought they had no chance suddenly see a path. People who felt secure now realize the rules have shifted underneath them. This is the moment where confusion collides with opportunity. The moment where the old safety nets disappear and the new ones haven't fully taken shape yet. If you're navigating the system right now, the worst mistake is assuming the old rules still apply. The conflict is not just in the law, it's in the adjustment, the uncertainty, the pressure, the rush to prepare before official guidance is released, and the realization that the next few months will determine whether you get ahead of the changes or fall behind them. Now comes the part no one prepared for, the comeback moment where this massive reform stops feeling like a headline and starts becoming a roadmap. Because after the shock settles, after the questions pile up, and after everyone realizes the old system isn't coming back, something unexpected happens. People start seeing possibility again. The fear doesn't disappear, but it shifts. It becomes fuel. It becomes clarity. And for millions who have spent years playing defense, waiting, hoping, planning around unpredictable government timelines, this is the first time they can move forward with strategy instead of survival mode. The truth is, reform always creates winners and losers. But for once, the winners are not just the most connected, the wealthiest, or the luckiest. They are the people who show up early, prepare correctly, understand the rules, and stay 2 steps ahead while everyone else is still trying to decode the headlines. That's the real comeback. Gaining control in a system where almost no one ever feels in control. For undocumented immigrants who have been in the shadows for 10, 15, even 20 years, working, raising families, paying taxes, building lives they are never fully allowed to claim, this new pathway is more than a legal process. It's a reset button. Conditional status won't erase the years of fear, the missed holidays, or the constant worry about traffic stops or workplace raids, but it finally creates a straight line where there used to be only circles. Suddenly, things like driver's licenses, secure travel, stable employment, and long-term planning stop being luxuries and start being achievable milestones. It's the comeback millions have waited for, but it belongs only to those who can prove their history, their contribution, and their stability. And that is where the pressure rises again. The opportunity is real, but so is the scrutiny. Better hours for you. For skilled workers stuck in backlogs so long they could measure their wait times in presidential administrations, the comeback is different. The elimination of per-country caps does more than shorten lines. It collapses bottlenecks that have trapped entire careers. People who watched younger colleagues leapfrog them through other countries' immigration systems now have a chance to reclaim their momentum. It's the comeback of time lost, the comeback of opportunity delayed. But even here, nothing is automatic. USCIS is modernizing, but modernization comes with audits, employer compliance checks, wage verification, and deeper background screening. Applicants will need precise paperwork, consistent history, and immaculate legal records. One missing document can turn a comeback into a setback in seconds. Families who have waited years, sometimes decades, to reunite under outdated backlog rules are finally seeing daylight. Faster processing, restored visa numbers, and clear target timelines sound like the biggest win in the entire reform. Parents who watch their children grow from toddlers to adults through video calls may finally have real reunion dates. Spouses split by paperwork delays may finally get clarity. But the comeback here is emotional, messy, and deeply personal. Immigration reforms do not automatically fix missing records, complicated family histories, name mismatches, or documentation lost to war, disaster, or bureaucracy. Many families will celebrate, many more will scramble, and in this rush, preparation becomes the difference between reuniting in 2027 and getting pushed back to the end of the line. The startup visa feels like a comeback for America itself, a way to reclaim global talent slipping to Canada, the UK, and Europe. For entrepreneurs, it's the comeback of ambition, the chance to build something real on US soil without gambling their status on temporary visas. But again, the opportunity is wrapped in responsibility. Job creation metrics, investment requirements, business performance thresholds, and compliance checks mean only the most prepared founders will thrive. The dream is open, but the margin for error is razor thin. STEM students and graduates, some of the most overlooked victims of America's old immigration bottlenecks, are stepping into a comeback that feels long overdue. The reform cuts the uncertainty that stalks every international student upon graduation. Instead of anxiety about OPT approvals, H-1B lotteries, and multi-year delays, the system is shifting toward predictability. A structured pipeline from degree to work authorization to permanent residency is the comeback this community needed. But predictable does not mean easy. Students will now face new requirements around field relevance, employer stability, work alignment, and documentation. The door is open, but it expects excellence. Even asylum seekers, historically trapped in years-long limbo, are experiencing a comeback of dignity. Faster decisions mean faster stability for legitimate cases and clearer resolutions for cases that previously drowned in backlog chaos. 90 days is a promise of order where there used to be only uncertainty. But compressed timelines also mean less room for error, fewer delays, and stricter evidence standards. Preparation will determine outcomes more than ever before. But maybe the most surprising comeback belongs to green card holders themselves. For years, permanent residency felt stable but stiff. Travel was stressful, renewals slow, and case tracking nearly impossible. Now, short-term re-entry flexibility and digital transparency make life easier and more predictable. It's the comeback of mobility, security, and confidence. Yet the same digital upgrades that make life easier also make monitoring tighter. Every trip, renewal, update, and inconsistency is recorded instantly. Green cards are becoming more flexible, but also more visible. The overarching comeback across all categories is clarity. Not perfect clarity, not painless clarity, but clarity compared to the fog that has defined the system for years. The new framework is creating a unified direction. Organize your documents, prepare your records, track your history, clean up your paperwork, and position yourself before the window opens. It's the comeback of control. And here's the twist most people haven't realized yet. The reform itself is only the first domino. What comes next, official guidance, new application forms, eligibility instructions, USCIS rule updates, court challenges, state-level responses, attorney interpretations will define whether people actually succeed in this new era. The comeback is real, but only if you stay ahead of the next wave of updates. Because opportunities like this don't stay open forever. Every immigration reform in US history has eventually tightened, narrowed, or accelerated into something more restrictive. This is the comeback moment, but it's also the countdown moment. Millions will try to take advantage of it. Only those who prepare early will be ready when the official system opens. The moment everyone waits for always comes quietly. It's that point where the confusion fades, the headlines settle, and you finally get to ask the only question that truly matters. Okay, but what does this actually mean for me, my family, and my future? Because after all the noise in Washington, all the political wrestling, all the legal back and forth, this is where the real impact begins. At your table, in your plans, in your day-to-day life. And what this new immigration reform delivers is something millions of immigrants haven't felt in years. Certainty. Not perfection, not miracles, but real, measurable certainty, something the system doesn't offer often. For years, immigrants in America lived inside a maze where the walls moved every few months. People waited for updates that never came, refreshed the visa bulletin like it was a lottery, and lived with a type of stress that only immigrants understand, the kind that sits quietly in your stomach and whispers, one small change and everything you've built can disappear. That feeling doesn't vanish overnight, but for the first time in a long time, the ground is shifting in your favor. This reform offers structure, actual timelines, predictable processing, transparent categories, and straightforward eligibility. That alone is life-changing. Instead of guessing, you will soon have a roadmap. Instead of running in place, you finally get direction, and direction means momentum. Momentum is the second gift this reform gives immigrants. The old system was like standing in a line that never moved. You could age out, time out, or lose your spot without doing anything wrong. But now, backlogged categories are unclogging, per country limits are gone, unused visas are restored, and digital processing will push cases forward instead of trapping them. For skilled workers who've waited a decade just to renew hope, things will finally move. For family petitions stuck in slow motion, things will move. For students who were planning their future around uncertainty, things will move. And when the system moves, lives move with it. But the deepest impact, the one that hits the heart, not the paperwork, is the possibility of reunion. This reform quietly turns a locked door into a door that finally cracks open. Parents separated from children, spouses stretching their relationships across continents, siblings who haven't shared a holiday in years. This new structure gives them the one thing bureaucracy normally refuses to give: a timeline they can trust. It won't fix every case, it won't shrink every weight, but it gives families something they haven't had in years. Hope tied to a date, not hope tied to chance. Then there's the part nobody says out loud, but everyone feels. This reform gives immigrants something they've been denied for too long: dignity. For decades, the U.S. immigration system treated immigrants like a problem to be managed, not people to be respected. You could be a taxpayer, a caregiver, a nurse, a tech worker, a parent raising American kids, and still live one bad policy away from chaos. This reform doesn't erase every fear, but it marks a shift. The country is finally acknowledging that immigrants aren't passengers in America's story, they are part of the engine. But with new opportunity comes new responsibility, and this is where people either rise or fall. The upgraded system will be faster, but it will also be stricter. Officers will approve more efficiently, but they'll also deny more confidently. Missing one document, ignoring one instruction, letting one detail slip, these things matter now more than ever. This moment belongs to the people who prepare early, the people who gather their tax records before they're asked, the people who renew passports before they expire, the people who understand that the new era favors those who take immigration seriously, not casually. Here's the truth no politician will say plainly: this reform isn't just a big change in policy. It's a reset button for millions of immigrants, one that gives you another chance to build long-term security if you don't waste it. Because while this new system opens doors, it also raises the bar. You can't rely on your sponsor alone. You can't depend on the old processing style. You can't assume the government will overlook mistakes. The new framework expects readiness, accuracy, stability, and personal responsibility. And that's where you win, because immigrants have always known how to work harder, prepare deeper, and show up stronger when everything is on the line. What this moment really gives you is power. Power to plan a future, not just survive the present. Power to move towards citizenship without drowning in uncertainty. Power to build something solid for your kids, not something fragile depending on luck. For workers, it means a real path to permanent residency instead of a revolving door of renewals. For students, it means your degree actually becomes a stepping stone instead of a gamble. For undocumented residents, it means your years of contribution finally matter. For families, it means the finish line is no longer invisible. For long-time residents, it means travel, renewal, and peace of mind instead of constant anxiety. This is what people have been waiting to hear. Not slogans, not politics, not fear. Clarity, direction, possibility. A future you can actually see and start preparing for. And that's why staying informed is no longer optional. This reform is huge, but the rollout will be complicated. Timelines will shift, requirements will update, new forms will drop without warning. If you miss a change, you miss an opportunity. That's why we're here, to break everything down simply, clearly, and consistently so you never get caught off guard in a system where the smallest detail can change everything. If you're serious about staying ahead of everyone else, subscribe, stay close, and stay ready, because this new chapter in US immigration isn't just beginning, it's accelerating.